Hi Diane. So this morning we're going to quickly talk about onboarding.
Okay.
So we will be going to the link
Yeah.
later on, and we will be onboarding people onto the program. So this is normally a job for Sonal, but obviously it's really good to be able to learn or know how to do everything, just in case Sonal's not here, or it's something that you'd like to do, be a part of
Okay.
that journey. And I think it'd be good for you to do that, just to understand the learner's journey.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
So obviously, Sonal takes part in all the job centre visits and recruits everyone onto the programme. So we don't always accept everyone that we see onto the next programme. So we have 8 spaces for each programme, and we want to make sure that we're assessing and making sure that we're choosing the right people for the programme at the right time. Okay. And we have certain criteria that we ask for from our learners to fit the criteria to come onto the Fairer Futures programme. So we ask that they are between 19 to 30, that they have been out of work for 6 months or more, and they also have a barrier of getting into work and employment. So that could be they have mental health issues, they have learning needs, need learning support, could have long-term health issues as well. They could be a lone parent, they could have been homeless or are homeless, and they also could be an ex-offender. In terms of ex-offenders, we don't accept any learners that have committed the following 3 offences. So no violent crimes at all. We want to make sure that we're safeguarding ourselves as well as the rest of our trainees in the room, as well as the Mid-Counties Cooperative staff. Sexual offences, so none at all.
Okay.
Obviously we're working with vulnerable people, and it's not something that we want to be working with in terms of,
and you're protecting everybody else.
Exactly. There's too much to work with there, and they're still on the journey.
And they need that specialised support.
Yes. And then also people that have committed arson offences, just because of like the impulsivity of arson offences and what have you. So we don't accept anyone else onto the programme who've committed any of those 3 offences. Other than that, in terms of offences, we're pretty flexible.
Is the barrier is a must? So they've got to.
Yeah. So in terms of barriers, there needs to be something.
Yeah, that's a barrier for them.
Yeah. So
do you have any examples of people in the cohort? I know you're not going to say names, but if you've got some examples.
Yeah, so what we've noticed is that some people say that they don't have barriers. They might not have a barrier, but they've just struggled to get into work. But then as you get to know them, so you go through the process of onboarding them onto the programme, they might not see it as a barrier, but there is an actual barrier there. It might be anxiety, it could be, a bit of depression, whether it be diagnosed from a GP or self-diagnosis.
Okay.
And, it could be like some sort of social awkwardness in terms of, building friendships. A lot of times you'll find people say that they'd like to have a friend because they don't have friends and things like that. So there are barriers there. It's just that they might not look at it as a barrier or have never really thought, okay, then this could potentially be a barrier to me getting into work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and it's not something for us to be like, oh, well, you said that you've not got a barrier, but I've noticed that you've got this. Yeah. It's not pointing it out and stigmatizing them. It's about, okay, then this is something that we've noticed. Yeah. And then that can be something that you have a conversation with Jess about. We've noticed that this particular person, they claim that they've not got any issues, but when we've discussed them, had conversation with them, they have alluded to this. Yes. So, could you unpack that? Yeah. Yeah. So, perfect. Yeah. And the last criteria is that they need to be a Walsall resident. Yeah. So they need to pay their council tax to Walsall MBC Council. So we do have areas on the cusp of Walsall. So let's say Great Bar, for instance, that they pay their council tax to Walsall, but they have a B postcode. Okay. So Sonal normally checks their postcodes just to make sure that we can use them. So that's basically those are the types of criteria that we look for initially. Okay. Once they're onboarded onto the program, we then invite them in for a BKSB, which is a Maths and English assessment, and we ask that they achieve at least an entry level 2. So that's a extra piece of criteria, but it's not something that we find out until obviously they are invited for their BKSB assessment. Okay. Yeah. And the reason we ask that they at least hit entry level 2 is because they need to be able to understand the work that's being set them, and we don't want to be setting anyone up to fail. Okay. So if they don't even understand the words that are on the page, chances are you're going to be putting in a lot of work to offer support for them to understand what's being asked of them. And like you said earlier,
they may not be ready, and you might need to signpost them somewhere else. So
yeah. So when we get to the link today, we will be going through the whole process of initially onboarding people. So that will be talking to them about the program. It will be completing the registration form, and just giving them some reassurance. We'll be getting in contact with them. Well, you'll be getting in contact with them or Sonal, and then if they've got any questions, they can ask us any questions, or we can give out our email address and just say, any questions, please email us or give out the number, and we can answer any questions or queries that they may have.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.